March 24, 1960. A black Cadillac limousine sits completely still in the middle of a Frankfurt street. The engine is running. Traffic is backing up behind it. People are starting to gather on the sidewalks, craning their necks to see what is happening. Inside that car is Elvis Presley, the biggest star on the planet, a man who cannot walk 10 feet without causing a scene. He has just told his driver to stop, not for fans, not for photographers, not for anyone who would expect him to stop. He has stopped for a single soldier, a young man in uniform, standing alone on the sidewalk, caught mid-salute as he waits for a streetlight to change. No one in the car understands why this is happening. Colonel Tom Parker is not there to control it. Red West, Elvis's bodyguard and closest friend, leans forward from the back seat and asks, "Elvis, what are you doing?" Elvis does not answer. He is already reaching for the door handle. The soldier has not moved. He is still standing there, perfectly still, watching the limousine with an expression that no one can quite read. It is not excitement. It is not the wide-eyed shock that Elvis sees on every face, every day, everywhere he goes. It is something else. Elvis steps out onto the street. The crowd surges forward immediately. Voices rise. Cameras appear from nowhere, but Elvis does not acknowledge any of it. He walks straight toward the soldier, ignoring every person who calls his name. When he reaches him, Elvis stops. He looks directly into the young man's face. Then he says 4 words. "You wrote me a letter." The soldier does not smile. He does not react the way people react to Elvis Presley. He simply nods once and says quietly, "I did not think you would remember." They stand there facing each other while the crowd presses closer. Photographers rush in, flashbulbs popping, but Elvis turns his back to them. He positions himself between the soldier and the cameras, blocking them out. For 6 minutes, they talk. No one hears what is said. No recording device captures it. Red West will later describe the look on Elvis's face as the most serious he has ever seen it. When it is over, Elvis shakes the soldier's hand. He holds it just a moment too long. Then he gets back into the limousine and does not speak for the rest of the day. No newspaper runs the story. No journalist asks what was said. And within 72 hours, the soldier disappears from army records entirely. So what did Elvis see in that young man's face? Why did this moment get buried for 60 years? And why did Elvis himself never speak about it again? Because this is not a story about fame. It is about the weight of being seen by millions of people who do not know you, and the unbearable cost of being worshipped by everyone except the one person who actually understands what is happening to you. The soldier was not just any soldier. He was someone Elvis had been searching for since the day he was drafted, someone who had warned him, someone who had seen what fame does to a man in uniform, someone who knew, long before anyone else did, that Elvis Presley was drowning. And on that street in Frankfurt, Elvis finally found him. To understand why Elvis stopped that limousine, you have to go back 18 months earlier, to March of 1958, to the worst day of his life. Elvis Presley is 23 years old. He is at the absolute peak of his career. His movies are breaking box office records. His music is dominating the charts. Teenage girls scream his name in every city in America. He is untouchable. Then the letter arrives, the draft notice, United States Army, report for duty. It is not a publicity stunt. It is not negotiable. Elvis Presley is going to war, or at least he is going to Germany, which for a man like him might as well be war. His mother, Gladys, is terrified. She has always been afraid of losing him. She used to sleep in the same bed as Elvis when he was a teenager, even after he became famous, because she could not stand the idea of him being alone. Now he is being taken away from her, and she is already sick. Her liver is failing. She drinks too much. She cannot eat. And she knows, in the way that mothers know things, that something terrible is going to happen. Elvis's greatest fear is not combat. It is not bullets or bombs. His greatest fear is being forgotten. 2 years away from the stage, 2 years away from the cameras, means career death. In 1958, there are no guarantees. No one knows if the world will still care about Elvis Presley when he comes back. But he goes because he has no choice, because refusing would destroy him just as surely as disappearing would. 1 week before he ships out, a letter arrives at Graceland. It is handwritten. There is no return address. The envelope is plain, white, unremarkable. Elvis opens it in his bedroom, alone. The letter is from a soldier, someone currently stationed in Germany, someone who claims he has seen what fame does to men in uniform. The letter is not long. It does not ask for anything. It does not praise Elvis or beg for an autograph. It simply warns him. They will worship you as Elvis Presley. They will never see you as a soldier. And when you need them to, when you are drowning, no one will pull you out. Elvis reads it 3 times. He folds it carefully and puts it in the inside pocket of his jacket. He does not show it to anyone, not his father, not his mother, not Colonel Parker. But he cannot stop thinking about it. He ships out to Fort Hood, Texas, for basic training. The Army promises him that he will be treated like any other soldier. No special privileges, no exceptions. Elvis believes them because he wants to believe them. It is a lie. Every day is a performance. Every meal is a photo opportunity. Every moment of his life is staged for reporters who follow him around the base like he is a zoo animal. The other soldiers do not talk to him. They do not hate him exactly. They just do not know how to be around him. He is Elvis Presley. They are nobodies. The gap is too wide. Elvis tries, he really does. He wakes up early. He does his push-ups. He cleans his rifle. He follows every order without complaint, but it does not matter. He is still Elvis. He will always be Elvis. There is no escape from it. He writes back to the address on the letter. He does not know what to say, so he keeps it simple. Thank you for the warning. I think you might be right. The letter is returned 2 weeks later, stamped in red ink, no such address. The soldier was a ghost. On August 14, 1958, Gladys Presley dies. Elvis is granted emergency leave. He flies home to Memphis and breaks down at her funeral in a way that no one has ever seen him break down before. He sobs so hard that he cannot stand. He tells his father, Vernon, "She told me not to go. She knew I would not come back the same." And he does not. When Elvis returns to Germany, something inside him has shattered. He goes through the motions. He smiles when he is supposed to smile. He signs autographs. He does interviews, but behind his eyes there is nothing. He is numb, hollowed out. That is when the search begins. Elvis starts asking questions, quietly at first. Who wrote that letter? Does anyone know a soldier who might have sent it? He asks other servicemen. He asks officers. He even asks military police. No one knows anything. There is no record of any soldier writing to Elvis Presley. There is no file, no name, no trace. But Elvis cannot let it go. He becomes obsessed, because that soldier understood something that no one else did. That soldier saw through the myth. He knew what was happening to Elvis before Elvis even knew it himself. For 18 months, Elvis searches. He keeps the returned letter in his jacket pocket. He rereads it when he cannot sleep, which is often. He shows it to exactly one person, a soldier named Charlie Hodge, who will later become part of his inner circle. Charlie reads it and says, "Whoever wrote this was trying to save your life." Elvis nods. He says, "I know, that is why I have to find him." 3 weeks before his discharge, Elvis is riding through Frankfurt in the back of his limousine. He is exhausted. He is ready to go home. He is ready to be done with Germany, done with the army, done with all of it. Then he sees him. A soldier standing on the sidewalk, waiting for a light to change, mid-salute, posture perfect, face calm. And Elvis knows. He does not know how he knows, but he does. That is him. That is the man who wrote the letter. So he tells his driver to stop the car, and everything that comes next changes the rest of his life. The soldier's name is Daniel Crowley, and the moment Elvis sees him standing on that sidewalk, everything stops. Elvis leans forward in his seat. His driver glances in the rearview mirror, confused. Red West is mid-sentence. talking about something that does not matter anymore. Elvis is not listening. He is staring out the window at a man he has never met, but has been searching for since the day his mother died. Crowley is not doing anything remarkable. He is just standing there, waiting for the light to change, but there is something in the way he holds himself, the stillness, the control. Elvis recognizes it immediately because he used to have it too, before the world decided he was not allowed to be still anymore. Elvis says, "Stop the car." Red West stops talking. The driver hesitates. They are already running late. There is a press event in 20 minutes. Colonel Parker will be furious if they do not show up on time. Elvis says it again, louder this time, "Stop the car." The driver pulls over. The limousine jerks to a halt in the middle of the street. Traffic behind them starts to pile up. Horns begin to honk. People on the sidewalk turn to look. Someone recognizes the car. Then someone recognizes Elvis. Within seconds, a crowd is forming. Red West says, "Elvis, what are you doing?" Elvis does not answer. He is already pushing the door open. He steps out onto the street, and the noise hits him like a wave. People are shouting his name. Cameras are appearing out of nowhere. A woman screams. A man tries to push through the crowd to get closer, but Elvis ignores all of it. He walks straight toward Daniel Crowley, cutting through the chaos like it does not exist. Crowley does not move. He is still standing in the same spot, watching Elvis approach. His face is calm. No excitement, no shock, no wide-eyed disbelief, just recognition. When Elvis reaches him, he stops. For a moment, neither of them says anything. The crowd is pressing in from all sides now. Flashbulbs are popping, voices are rising, but Elvis does not care. He is looking at Crowley the way a drowning man looks at a piece of driftwood. Then Elvis says, "You wrote me a letter." It is not a question, it is a statement, a certainty. Crowley does not deny it. He does not ask how Elvis knows. He just nods once and says, "I did not think you would remember." Elvis almost laughs. Almost, because how could he forget? That letter has been in his jacket pocket for 18 months. He has read it so many times that the creases are starting to tear. It is the only piece of truth anyone has given him since he put on this uniform. He says, "I have been looking for you." Crowley's expression does not change, but something flickers in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, or sadness. He says, "You should not have." The photographers are getting closer now. They are shouting questions, asking who Crowley is, asking what is happening. One of them tries to push between Elvis and Crowley to get a better shot. Elvis turns his back to the camera and steps in front of Crowley, blocking him from view. Red West is out of the car now, trying to create some space, but it is useless. The crowd is too big, too loud, too hungry. Elvis says, "Can we talk?" Crowley glances at the crowd, at the cameras, at the chaos Elvis carries with him everywhere he goes. Then he looks back at Elvis and says, "Not here." Elvis nods. He understands. He has spent 2 years trying to have a private conversation and failing every single time. Privacy does not exist for him anymore. It is not a thing he is allowed to have. But he is not ready to let this go. Not after 18 months of searching. Not after everything he has lost trying to find this man. He says, "Then where?" Crowley hesitates. For the first time he looks uncertain, like he is weighing something in his mind. Then he says, "There is a chapel 2 blocks east. No one will bother us there." Elvis turns to Red West and says, "Give me 10 minutes." Red West stares at him like he has lost his mind. "Elvis, we have to go. Parker is going too." Elvis cuts him off. 10 minutes. There is something in his voice that stops the argument cold. Red is used to Elvis being easygoing, accommodating, the guy who does what he is told because it is easier than fighting. But this is different. This is not a request. This is not negotiable. Red finally nods. He says, 10 minutes, then we are leaving. Elvis does not wait for the rest of the sentence. He is already walking. Crowley falls into step beside him, and together they push through the crowd. People grab at Elvis's jacket. Someone tries to hand him a pen and a scrap of paper. A woman touches his shoulder and bursts into tears, but Elvis keeps moving. He does not stop. He does not look back. The chapel is small, old stone walls, wooden pews, empty. Crowley pushes the door open and steps inside. Elvis follows. The door closes behind them and suddenly the noise cuts off. It is silent, completely, impossibly silent. Elvis takes a breath. It is the first real breath he has taken in months. Crowley does not sit down. He stands near the altar, arms crossed, waiting. He does not look nervous. He does not look starstruck. He just looks tired. Elvis says, "Why did you write that letter?" Crowley is quiet for a long moment. Then he says, "Because I saw it happen before." Elvis waits. He does not push. He has learned that some people need time to find the words. Crowley finally speaks again. His voice is low, steady. "There was another soldier before you. He was not as famous as you, but he was known. Actor, did a few war films. Army thought it would be good for morale to have him over here, so they brought him to Germany, made a big show of it." Elvis does not interrupt. "At first it was fine," Crowley continues. "He smiled for the cameras, did the interviews, played the part, but then it started to break him. People would not let him be a soldier. They only wanted him to be the actor. He could not eat a meal without photographers showing up, could not sleep without someone trying to get into his barracks, could not exist without being watched." Crowley pauses. He looks at Elvis directly now. "One night, he told me he felt like he was disappearing, like every time someone looked at him, they were taking a piece of him, and eventually there would be nothing left." Elvis feels something cold settle in his chest. He knows exactly what Crowley is talking about. He has felt it too, that slow erasure, that sense of being consumed. Crowley says 3 months later he hanged himself in his quarters. Middle of the night, no note, no explanation. Army kept it quiet, shipped the body home, told the press it was a training accident. The silence in the chapel is deafening. Elvis says, "What was his name?" Crowley shakes his head. "It does not matter, no one remembers him anyway." That is the truth that neither of them wants to say out loud. Fame does not protect you, it just makes your destruction more public. Unless the people in charge decide it should not be, then they bury you, quietly, completely, like you never existed at all. Elvis says, "Is that why you warn me?" Crowley nods. "I saw the same thing happening to you, the way they were treating you, the way they were using you. I thought maybe if someone told you the truth, you could avoid it. You could find a way to survive." Elvis wants to laugh, but it comes out wrong. Bitter, broken, he says, "I am not surviving, I am performing survival." Crowley does not argue, because they both know it is true. Elvis pulls the letter out of his jacket pocket. It is wrinkled now, torn at the edges. He holds it up and says, "You told me they would never see me as a soldier. You were right, but it is worse than that. They do not see me as anything. I am just a product, a thing they can sell." Crowley's jaw tightens. He says, "Then stop being a product." Elvis stares at him. How? And that is the question Crowley cannot answer, because there is no answer. Elvis Presley is too big, too famous, too valuable. He belongs to the world now, whether he wants to or not. Crowley says, "You have to decide. Do you want to survive this, or do you want to be Elvis Presley? Because I do not think you can do both." Elvis opens his mouth to respond, but before he can, the chapel door opens. Red West is standing there. He looks apologetic but firm. He says, "Elvis, we have to go now." Elvis does not move. He is still looking at Crowley, still trying to find an answer that does not exist. Crowley says quietly, "Go, before they come looking for you here too." Elvis nods slowly. He turns toward the door, then he stops. He looks back at Crowley one more time and says, "Will I see you again?" Crowley does not answer, and that silence is the answer. Elvis walks out of the chapel. The noise of the world crashes back over him. The crowd, the cameras, the chaos. He climbs into the limousine. Red West closes the door. The car pulls away. Elvis does not speak for the rest of the day. He sits in the back seat, staring out the window, holding that wrinkled letter in his hand. 3 days later, Daniel Crowley is gone. 3 days after Elvis walks out of that chapel, Daniel Crowley vanishes. It happens in the middle of the night. No warning, no explanation. One moment he is there, sleeping in his barracks like any other soldier. The next morning, his bunk is empty. His locker has been cleared out. His name is gone from the duty roster. The other soldiers notice, but no one says anything. People disappear from military bases all the time. Transfers happen, reassignments come through. It is not unusual, except this time it is. Because when Elvis asks where Crowley went, no one will tell him. He goes to the base commander. The man looks uncomfortable. He shuffles papers on his desk and says the transfer was routine, standard procedure, nothing to worry about. Elvis asks where Crowley was sent. The commander says he does not have that information. It is classified. Elvis stares at him. He says, "Classified. He is a soldier, not a spy." The commander will not meet his eyes. He just repeats the same line. Classified, routine, nothing to worry about. Elvis tries the military police. They tell him the same thing. He tries the administration office. Same answer. He even tries calling friends back in the States who have connections, people who owe him favors. No one can find Daniel Crowley. It is like he never existed. That is when Elvis realizes what has happened. Someone made Crowley disappear. Someone with enough power to erase a man from every record, every file, every piece of paperwork that proves he was ever there. And Elvis knows exactly who that someone is. Colonel Tom Parker finds out about the chapel meeting within hours. He does not know what was said. He was not there, but he knows enough. He knows Elvis stopped his limousine in the middle of a street for a random soldier. He knows they talked privately, away from cameras, away from control, and that terrifies him. Parker has spent years building Elvis Presley into the biggest brand in the world. Every move is calculated. Every public appearance is staged. Every relationship is managed. He cannot afford to have someone whispering doubt into Elvis's ear, cannot afford to have someone telling him that fame is a trap, that survival means walking away. So Parker makes a phone call. He does not have to say much, just enough. He tells the right person that this soldier is a distraction, a problem, someone who could damage morale, someone who could interfere with Elvis's service and, more importantly, with his image. Within 72 hours, Daniel Crowley is gone, transferred to a base so remote that it might as well be another planet, reassigned to a unit where no one knows who he is or why he is there, buried so deep in the system that even if Elvis keeps looking, he will never find him. And Elvis does keep looking. He writes letters to every base he can think of. He makes phone calls. He asks every officer he meets if they know where Crowley was sent. Nothing. Every lead goes cold. Every inquiry gets shut down. It is like trying to grab smoke. Red West watches it happen. He sees Elvis unraveling in real time, sees him stop sleeping, stop eating, start drinking more than he should. Red tries to talk to him about it, but Elvis will not listen. One night, Red finally says, "Elvis, you have to let this go." Elvis looks at him with eyes that are hollow and exhausted. He says, "They took him because of me, because he told me the truth." Red does not know what to say to that, because it is probably true, and they both know it. Elvis tells one of his close friends, a musician who visits him on base, "They will not even let me talk to someone who tells me the truth. That is how trapped I am." The friend does not understand. He says, "What do you mean? You can talk to whoever you want." Elvis shakes his head. He says, "No, I cannot, because the moment I do, they disappear." The weeks crawl by. Elvis finishes his service. He shows up for duty every morning. He does his job. He signs autographs. He smiles for the cameras. He says all the right things in all the right interviews. But inside, he is gone, checked out, operating on autopilot. He meets Priscilla Beaulieu during this time. She is 14 years old. He is 24. It is a relationship that will define the rest of his life, but right now, in these final weeks in Germany, it is just another way to fill the emptiness. One night he tells her something he has not told anyone else. He says, "I am going back to America, but Elvis Presley is not coming with me. Priscilla does not understand what he means. She is too young, too dazzled by who he is, but Elvis knows. He knows that the man he used to be is gone. That person died somewhere between the draft notice and his mother's funeral and the moment Daniel Crowley disappeared. What is left is just the performance, just the product, just the thing that everyone else needs him to be. March 1960, Elvis is officially discharged. The army throws a massive press event. Reporters from all over the world show up. Cameras everywhere. It is chaos, controlled chaos, but chaos all the same. Someone asks him, "What was the hardest part of your service?" Elvis pauses. The question catches him off guard. He could say so many things. He could talk about his mother, about the isolation, about the suffocating weight of being watched every second of every day. Instead, he says, learning how to be alone in a crowd. The reporters scribble it down. They think it is poetic, profound. They do not realize it is the most honest thing Elvis has said in 2 years. No one asks a follow-up. They move on to the next question, something about his music, something about his movie career, something safe. Elvis answers on autopilot. He has become very good at that. Years pass. Elvis returns to America. He makes movies. He records albums. He performs in Las Vegas. He gets married. He has a daughter. He takes pills to wake up and pills to fall asleep and pills to get through the day. He gains weight. He loses it. He gains it again. He isolates himself inside Graceland, surrounded by people who call themselves his friends but who are really just employees. And through all of it, he never stops looking for Daniel Crowley. He hires private investigators in the mid-1960s, pays them thousands of dollars to search military records, track down leads, find anything. They come back with nothing. One of them tells Elvis that Crowley's file has been scrubbed, redacted. Someone with serious pull wanted him erased, and they did a thorough job. Elvis asks if Crowley is even still alive. The investigator says he does not know, could be, could not be, there is no way to tell. Elvis keeps the letter. It is still in his jacket pocket, even though the jacket does not fit anymore, even though the paper is so worn that it is barely holding together. He keeps it because it is the only proof he has that someone once saw him as a person instead of a symbol. In 1976, something changes. Elvis is 41 years old. His health is failing. His marriage is over. His career is a shadow of what it used to be. He performs in Las Vegas and people still come, but it is not the same. He is not the same. One night after a show, he sits alone in his dressing room. He pulls out a piece of paper and starts to write. The letter is addressed to Daniel Crowley. No address, no stamp, just a name. Elvis writes that he thinks about their conversation every day, that Crowley was right about everything, that he did become a symbol, and in doing so, he stopped being a person. He writes, "You told me I had to choose. I thought I could have both. I was wrong." He writes about how he tried to fight it, tried to stay human, but the machinery was too big, too powerful. It swallowed him whole, and there was no way out. He apologizes for not fighting harder to find Crowley, for letting the system erase him. He writes, "They made you disappear because you reminded me I was still real, and they could not let that happen." He admits he has been searching for years, that he hired investigators, that he did everything he could think of. Nothing worked. He writes, "I do not know if you are alive. I do not know if you will ever read this, but I need you to know you were right, and I am sorry I did not listen." Elvis seals the envelope. He puts it in his nightstand drawer. He never mails it because there is no address, because he does not know where Daniel Crowley is, because maybe, deep down, he is too ashamed. 1 year later, Elvis Presley is dead. August 17, 1977. The day after Elvis Presley dies, his father Vernon walks into his bedroom at Graceland. The room is still exactly as Elvis left it. The bed is unmade. Prescription bottles cover the nightstand. The air is heavy with the weight of everything that happened in that space. Vernon is looking for something. He does not know what. Maybe a clue, maybe an explanation, Maybe just a reason to stay in the room a little longer before he has to accept that his son is gone. He opens the nightstand drawer. Inside, beneath a stack of papers and old photographs, he finds a sealed envelope. The handwriting on the front is Elvis's, shaky, uneven, like it was written by someone whose hands would not stop trembling. The envelope is addressed to Daniel Crowley, United States Army, retired, no street address, no city, no state, just a name. Vernon stares at it for a long time. He does not recognize the name, does not know who this person is or why Elvis was writing to him, but he can tell, just from the way the envelope sits in his hands, that it mattered, that whoever Daniel Crowley was, he meant something to Elvis in a way that most people did not. Vernon never opens the letter. He does not feel like he has the right. It was meant for someone else, someone Elvis was trying to reach but could not. The envelope stays in the drawer. Family members find it years later when they are going through Elvis's belongings. By then, no one remembers who Daniel Crowley is. No one knows why Elvis wrote to him. The letter becomes just another piece of history that does not make sense, another mystery in a life full of them. But the letter changes everything, because it proves that Elvis never forgot, that for 17 years, from the moment Crowley disappeared until the day Elvis died, he carried the weight of that conversation in Frankfurt. He carried the warning, the truth, the choice he was given, and the choice he made. Crowley told him he had to decide, survive or be Elvis Presley, and Elvis chose wrong. Or maybe he never really had a choice at all. Maybe the decision was made for him the moment he became famous, the moment the world decided he was too valuable to be human. The letter is an apology, an admission, a confession that Crowley was right about everything. Elvis wrote that he tried to fight it, tried to stay real, but the machinery was too big, the system was too powerful, it consumed him piece by piece until there was nothing left but the performance, the image, the product. He wrote, "You told me I had to choose. I thought I could have both. I was wrong." That line is the most honest thing Elvis Presley ever said about his own life, and he never said it out loud. He wrote it in a letter he never sent to a man he could not find. History remembers Elvis as the king, the icon, the man who changed music forever, and all of that is true, but it is not the whole truth. The whole truth is that Elvis Presley was a person who got trapped inside a myth, a man who was loved by millions but understood by almost no one, someone who spent the last 20 years of his life trying to escape something that had already swallowed him whole. Daniel Crowley saw it coming. He warned Elvis before it was too late, and then he was erased for it, transferred to a base in Alaska, discharged a year later, lived the rest of his life in total obscurity. He died in 1987. His obituary was 3 sentences long. It mentioned his military service. It mentioned his family. It did not mention Elvis Presley, because no one knew. The connection had been buried so deep that even Crowley's own family did not know it existed. But the story does not end with Crowley's death. It does not even end with Elvis's death. It ends with the realization that everything Crowley warned about is still happening, still destroying people, still turning human beings into symbols and then punishing them for not being able to survive it. Fame has not gotten kinder since 1960. It has gotten faster, hungrier, more efficient at consuming people and spitting out whatever is left. The machinery that broke Elvis is still running. It just has new victims now, new faces, new names, and it will keep running as long as people believe that being worshipped by strangers is the same thing as being loved. Elvis understood that distinction too late. By the time he realized that fame was not love, he was already too far gone, already too isolated, already too dependent on the pills and the performance and the people who needed him to keep being Elvis Presley no matter what it cost him. That 6-minute conversation in Frankfurt was the last time Elvis Presley felt like a real person talking to another real person. The last time someone looked at him and saw the man instead of the myth. The last time someone told him the truth without wanting something in return. And within 72 hours, That person was gone, erased, removed, buried so deep that even Elvis could not find him. That is the secret history forgot, not the limo stopping, not the crowd gathering, not even the conversation itself. The secret is what happened after, the cover-up, the erasure, the deliberate destruction of the one relationship that might have saved Elvis's life. Because if Crowley had stayed, if Elvis had been allowed to keep talking to him, maybe things would have been different. Maybe Elvis would have found a way to survive the fame instead of being consumed by it. Maybe he would have lived longer, been happier, felt less alone. Or maybe it would not have mattered. Maybe the machinery was always going to win. Maybe once you become Elvis Presley, there is no going back to being Elvis Aaron Presley from Tupelo, Mississippi. Maybe the symbol always devours the person, no matter how hard you fight it. We will never know, because the choice was taken away from him. Someone decided that Elvis was too valuable to risk, too important to let him have a private friendship with someone who might tell him he did not have to do this anymore, that he could walk away. So they made Crowley disappear, and Elvis spent the rest of his life looking for him, writing letters he could not send, carrying guilt he could not shake, knowing that the one person who understood what was happening to him had been erased because of him. That guilt is in every photograph from the last 10 years of his life. You can see it in his eyes, the exhaustion, the resignation, the knowledge that he is trapped and there is no way out. People say Elvis died from a heart attack, from years of prescription drug abuse, from poor health and bad decisions, and all of that is true. But the deeper truth is that Elvis Presley died from being Elvis Presley, from carrying a weight that no human being was ever meant to carry, from being worshipped and consumed and isolated until there was nothing left but the performance. Daniel Crowley saw it happening, he tried to stop it, and the system destroyed him for it. That is the story history forgot, not because it was not important, but because the people in power needed it to be forgotten, needed to erase the evidence that they sacrificed a man's humanity for profit, that they knew what was happening and did it anyway. So the next time you see a photograph of Elvis Presley, remember that. Remember that behind the image there was a person who tried to survive, a person who was told he had to choose, a person who made the wrong choice or maybe never had a choice at all. And remember Daniel Crowley, the soldier who told the truth, the man who was erased for caring, the one person who saw Elvis Presley as a human being instead of a king. Because in the end, that is all anyone really wants, to be seen, to be known, to be understood by at least one person before it is too late. Elvis never got that, and it killed him. Do you think Elvis ever escaped the weight of what he became, or was that moment in Frankfurt the last time he ever felt like himself? Tell us what you think in the comments. And if this story changed how you see fame, share it with someone who still believes being worshipped is the same as being loved. Because sometimes the dream is the prison, and sometimes the only person who tells you the truth gets erased for it. Let us know if you think Crowley was right. We will be here, reading every word.